Easter Island, Chile, is famous around the world for mysterious monolithic human figures called the Moai statues. These gigantic carvings were in honor of the chieftains and other renowned people who had died. In an extremely remote corner of the Pacific Ocean, Easter Island has long sparked a sense of awe and mystery. It is a place seemingly untouched by time and a lonely land where giant stone faces gaze endlessly toward the horizon. For decades, it has captured the imagination of historians, archaeologists, and travelers alike. Yet what researchers recently uncovered beneath the island's surface has rewritten everything we thought we knew about its past. It turns out that the Moai are not just heads, as was previously thought, but full-bodied figures buried for centuries under layers of earth. Surrounding them are hidden chambers, mysterious inscriptions, and evidence of a sophisticated society, a civilization far more advanced than history had recorded. For generations, people had assumed these statues were only simple stone heads standing in isolation from one another, an image reinforced by textbook photos and travel guides. But a group of archaeologists suspected there might be more beneath the surface. In 2010, the Easter Island Statue Project, led by Dr. Joan van Tilburg, began a series of excavations that would change everything. Exhuming the ground carefully, the team discovered something that came as a total shock. The Moai were complete figures carved from volcanic rock, their torsos, arms, and hands buried deep underground. Each new layer revealed more: shoulders, chests, and arms folded across the abdomen, as if in solemn repose. Some statues stretched over 30 feet below the surface, perfectly preserved by the earth that had shielded them from centuries of erosion. Their backs showed intricate carvings of spirals, crescents, and geometric patterns, depicting spiritual power, ancestry, and a bond between the islanders and their land. Even more incredible, it turned out, was to realize that the Moai were not placed at random. All the statues faced inland, toward the villages, not the ocean. They did not guard the sea, but protected the people. The precision of such an arrangement reflected a profoundly spiritual society that paid equal respect to ancestors and the living. The island was one vast ceremonial landscape, an intentional memorial built in unity, purpose, and devotion. The excavations have also unearthed how these statues were constructed and bedecked. Many wore large red stone cylinders, called pakeo, on their heads, symbolizing the top knots of high-ranking chiefs. These have been carved from a special kind of red volcanic stone found miles away and transported across rugged terrain, a feat that showed the islanders' remarkable engineering skill. Tools like stone chisels and hammers were found at the base of the statues, abandoned mid-task, frozen in time for centuries. The skill of the craftsmen of the Moai was outstanding. Indeed, their faces were elaborately carved and expressive, with powerful noses, elongated ears, and well-defined cheekbones. Some even had eye sockets fitted with coral and black stone pupils that seemed to glow when sunlight caught them, making the statues appear eerily alive. Far from being primitive, the Rapa Nui, the people of Easter Island, were sophisticated engineers, artists, and spiritual thinkers who blended artistry, faith, and community into one all-consuming vision. In 2011, another major discovery deepened this understanding. Near the quarry of Reno Raraku, dozens of small stone-lined pits were found filled with a bright red powder. At first thought to be dust or clay, the substance turned out to be pigment made from iron oxides, the same used for red paint. These pigments, carefully prepared and sealed centuries ago, date from 1200 to 1650 CE, long after the island's deforestation and presumed collapse. This finding revealed that the people of Easter Island, despite hardship, had maintained their art, rituals, and social order far longer than anyone believed. In Polynesian culture, the color red represents mana, sacred power, and divine energy. Large amounts of the pigment implied that the Moai had once been painted bright crimson, their surfaces ablaze in the sunlight as living embodiments of ancestral spirits. Dr. Welmode from the Mosgard Museum in Denmark said that to manufacture and then distribute such large quantities of pigment required organization, leadership, and communal effort, clear evidence of a structured and healthy society. The old story of Easter Island's collapse unraveled. Far from a culture in ruin, the Rapa Nui had proved resilient, creative, and united. With each new excavation, archaeologists unearthed hidden burial chambers beneath several Ahu platforms, elaborate stone vaults built with incredible precision. The chambers were built using the same interlocking stone techniques as the surface monuments, without mortar, yet fitted so well that a knife blade couldn't slip between the blocks. These were engineered structures to resist earthquakes and floods, century after century of erosion. Inside, researchers found the remains of important people, chiefs, priests, and master builders, buried with ceremonial offerings. The objects found with them spoke volumes about the culture that was intimate with land and sea. Obsidian-hafted tools, ornaments made from shell traded from far-off islands, and marvelously carved wooden figures testified to a people who took part in long-distance trading and cultural exchange across the Pacific. This evidence shattered the long-held belief that Easter Island was an isolated society and proved it was part of a vast Polynesian network of exploration, craftsmanship, and exchange. The burial chambers helped solve one of the oldest puzzles that had surrounded the Moai platforms: the purpose of small niches carved into the sides of some ahu structures. When the chambers were discovered, their function became clear. The niches provided a place where offerings of food and water, along with sacred objects, were left for spirits of ancestors buried beneath. Traces of red pigment in the burial sites indicated that death rituals involved painting both the dead and the living with a sacred color of power, symbolizing a spiritual passage between worlds. These discoveries proved unequivocally that the people of Easter Island had an enlightened knowledge of architecture, engineering, and spirituality. Their monuments were not the primitive relics, but a living expression of a civilization sustained by reverence, ritual, and deep ancestral devotion. Perhaps the most haunting finding of all came in 1978, when archaeologist Sergio Rao examined white coral fragments scattered around the site of several moai. Astonishingly, the fragments were not random debris. They were the eyes of the statues. For centuries, the moai had been regarded as blank-faced sentinels. Now, with the coral fragments, it became clear that they once had gleaming white eyes with dark pupils made of obsidian or red volcanic rock. When reassembled, the eyes gave the statues an almost human presence. The reconstruction by Rao transformed the world's understanding of Easter Island's monuments. With their eyes restored, the moai seemed alive, commanding, watchful, and filled with spirit. Many statues were aligned in such a way that at specific times during rituals, sunlight would strike their eyes and make them flash brilliantly. Consider a whole hillside of moai lighted all of a sudden by the rising sun. The view was nothing short of breathtaking, a symbol of divine awakening. Thus, it can be understood that these coral eyes were crafted with much skill. Each had to be fitted uniquely to its statue, insinuating that there were special artisans who worked on it. Not every moai got eyes. The privileges seem to have been ordained for the most sacred ones, those representing powerful ancestors or placed at important ceremonial sites. Installing the eyes marked the final step in the statue's creation, transforming carved stone into a living guardian imbued with mana, the spiritual power to watch over the living. That was in line with an age-old oral tradition of statues that could see, hear, and protect their people. Those are stories that at one time no one believed but gained new meaning with the rediscovery of the coral eyes. The moai were never meant to be silent or blind. They were built to see, to bear witness, and to embody the living presence of the ancestors. Modern experiments inserting replica coral eyes into restored statues showed how dramatically their expressions changed. What was once cold stone seemed to awaken with life and awareness. But the mysteries of Easter Island did not end there. In 1864, a French missionary by the name of Eugene Araud discovered strange carved symbols on wooden tablets. The islanders called the tablets rongorongo, meaning to chant or to recite. The symbols followed an unusual alternating pattern known as boustrophédon, where each line reversed direction, a writing style shared with ancient scripts around the world. The discovery astonished scholars. Polynesia was famous for its oral traditions, but no other island in the region had ever developed a written language. Easter Island stood alone. The tablets were covered with hundreds of intricate glyphs, stylized birds, fish, plants, and human forms, arranged with mathematical precision. Some symbols appeared often, while others rarely did. These characteristics hinted at a structured language or recording system. Unfortunately, by the time the missionaries arrived, few islanders could still read the script. The knowledge had largely disappeared, likely due to colonization and cultural upheaval. Researchers have tried to decipher rongorongo for over 150 years, but its meaning remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in archaeology. Some believe the tablets hold genealogies, others that they contain prayers, songs, or navigational information connecting Easter Island to the wider Polynesian world. Whatever their purpose, their existence has upended everything historians once thought they knew about literacy and complexity in ancient Pacific societies. Put together, these discoveries, the buried Moai, the sacred pigments, the hidden chambers, the coral eyes, and the mysterious Rongorongo tablets have completely rewritten the story of Easter Island. Far from being a doomed or isolated culture, the island's people were intelligent, organized, and deeply spiritual. They built colossal monuments with mathematical precision, upheld complex rituals for centuries, honored their ancestors through art and architecture, and even created their own system of writing. Easter Island's true legacy is not one of tragedy, but rather one of ingenuity, resilience, and reverence. Beneath its wind-swept plains and silent statues, it harbors a hidden legacy, a reminder that so much of human history is yet to be unearthed. Archaeologists continue to search, convinced that more secrets rest beneath the island's volcanic soil. Each discovery brings us closer to understanding this remarkable society that once flourished there. The Moai are no longer just stone faces on a forgotten island. They are storytellers in stone.